This ball is crushed.
Everybody, and welcome back to Son of a Pitch, the baseball show by the fans, for the fans. I'm your host, Gabe, and we got a lot of news, so let's dive right in. First off, something weird's been happening in the MLB. Now, this has been a weird season with a lot of wacky things happening. But one of the things that we never thought would change about baseball is selling beer into the 7th inning stretch. It's just kind of a tradition, something we've always done. But because of the pitch clock, games are now shorter. And because, stadiums don't want to lose that revenue, they've been selling beer up until the 8th inning. Now you might be thinking, why is this significant? Well, let me explain. We always stopped in the 7th inning stretch to give fans time to sober up before they had to drive home. But now, games are shorter. So they're selling it into the 8th inning to make sure they keep that same amount of revenue, but that's giving fans less time to sober up. So I just want to say now, be smart, be safe, and if you're feeling intoxicated, don't drive, get an Uber, please. It could genuinely save your life. Second, speaking of this wacky, bonkers MLB season we've been having, in Wednesday's night Detroit Tigers, Toronto Blue Jays game, we saw an obstruction on an umpire call. We never see that. So let me explain what happened. Detroit's Eric Haas threw the ball down the third base but missed, allowing the runners to, steal the bases. Because someone got in the way of Eric Haas when he was trying to throw the ball to third base, and one of the runners stepped on the foot of the umpire, they were called back to first and second base, and the bases were not stolen. We never see that happening, so when we do, we got to talk about it. Also, Philadelphia. I don't know who thought it was a good idea to give the people of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, hot dogs for $1, but it happened. And what most of us assume would happen also occurred. The fans threw them as projectile weapons. Dollar hot dog night turned into a food fight, and Citizens Bank Park just was filled with people throwing hot dogs at each other. Me personally, I would have been catching a bunch of them and eating them, but hey, that's just me. The one thing that I do think is funny is that this would never happen at the NHL, because you would never go into Wells Fargo Center and start chucking things. Because you're not going to commit a crime around Gritty. He's like Batman. I mean, look at this guy. Look into his eyes. You can feel your sins weighing on you. You would never trifle with him. Now it's time to talk about our standings. Starting off, as usual, with the AL East, we have the now defeated Tampa Bay Rays at first, the Toronto Blue Jays at second, the New York Yankees at third, Baltimore Orioles fourth, and the Boston Red Sox at fifth. Moving on to the AL Central, Minnesota Twins at 1, Cleveland Guardians 2, Chicago White Sox 3rd, Detroit Tigers 4th, and womp womp, Kansas City Royals in 5th. The AL West, we have the Texas Rangers at 1, Houston Astros at 2, and with only 1.5 games behind the Texas Rangers, we're going to talk about why that's going to be significant later in this episode. Los Angeles Angels 3, Seattle Mariners 4, and the Oakland Athletics at 5. Moving on to the National League, we're going to start with the NL East, and we got the Atlanta Braves at 1, New York Mets at 2, Miami Marlins at 3, Philadelphia Phillies at 4, Washington Nationals at 5. NL Central always brings my heart a lot of joy. Milwaukee Brewers, number 1 in the division. Pittsburgh Pirates at 2. Chicago Cubs at 3. St. Louis Cardinals at 4. And Cincinnati Reds at 5. Finally, let's wrap up with the NL West. And this just makes me happy to see, because the MLB is better when we have competitive teams. The Arizona Diamondbacks are the best team in the NL West, and that brings me so much joy. Behind them, you have the Los Angeles Dodgers, San Diego Padres, San Francisco Giants, and to the surprise of no one, the Colorado Rockies. And that wraps up your standings this week. For our big segment of the week, I just want to talk about the significance and history behind the Tampa Bay Rays' 13-0 streak. While that streak is sadly broken, and now they're at 13-2, you can't help but be happy for this team and the grit and tenacity they showed, and the history they made by being one of only 3 teams to go undefeated for 13 games. There's some reasons that this is significant too. The Tampa Bay Rays have a $73.1 million payroll, in comparison to the rest of the AL East that has an average of $222.6 million of payroll. Yes, the Tampa Bay Rays have less than a third of their competitors and have been absolutely decimating them. Besides that, the team has been going all out. They are first in team batting average with a 2.87. They are first in RBIs with 99. first in home runs in the league with 32, and they're first in ERA with a 2.23. These Tampa Bay Rays have battled hard, and now they've lost twice. But if they can remember this grit, this tenacity, this fight, I guarantee you we will see the Tampa Bay Rays in the playoffs. Before we wrap up, I just want to talk about how April 16th was Jackie Robinson Day in the MLB. On Jackie Robinson Day, every player in the MLB wears 42 on their jersey to pay homage to the late, great Jackie Robinson, the first African-American man to play in the MLB. Now, Jackie Robinson, besides being an amazing four-sport athlete who showed time and time again what a true athlete really, really is, he was also a fighter for social change. I want to use my platform and privilege in this moment to speak up against systemic racial inequality. We might think that, what happened to Jackie Robinson was only in the 40s, when segregation was something we were fighting over. Or, only Martin Luther King Jr., had to deal with it in the 60s and it's gone now. If we've learned anything over the last couple of years, it's that these issues are still very alive and well. And if we don't talk about them, if we don't speak out against them, they will only grow stronger. Thank you, Jackie Robinson, for everything you did for the sport of baseball, and thank you for everything you did to further the cause of social justice. We will take that torch and carry it on. Now, for our final segment, we got to talk about Sunday Night Baseball this week. Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros. Like we said, Texas Rangers are number 1 in the AL West, and Houston Astros are number 2. So they're going to be jockeying for a position with, as we said, the Houston Astros only 1.5 games behind the Texas Rangers. Wins in these series would help put the Houston Astros in the spot that I think all of us had them being in, which is number 1 in the AL West. And that's the first step to winning the World Series. So, tonight, battle for Texas, yeehaw. That's all for Son of a Pitch. We'll see you next time.